at Mertech.com with your daily news update. Finally, I'm only about 40 minutes late here. Sorry. It's late enough rescheduling it till 10 o'clock, but I had got off track coming home and sorry, made a wrong turn. It got me way off track, so sorry. I'm here again. I apologize for being late, but bottom line is we have some great information for you tonight, so let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link, bring you over here to my Rumble channel. This is the video you're watching right now, my episode 1739, even though it says upcoming. As you know, you are actually watching it, so let's click into this. Okay, hi Debbie BS. Sorry to keep you waiting. I appreciate your patience. Okay, let's slide down here and open the description box by clicking the Show More button. We have information from Benny Johnson, Devory Darkins, Dr. Steve Turley, and Wendy Bell Radio. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into this, okay? Oh, let me give you the title here. ICE launches raids of Somalia fraudsters, door-to-door arrest in Minneapolis. Sounds like a wiener to me. Okay, let's see what he has to say. He's going to start off with one of his memes, so be prepared.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. The silver lining of the last few days of the
Let me back this up.
What's up, guys? It's Benny.
Okay.
The silver lining of the last few days of the Minneapolis fraud news cycle is that we are fighting complete morons here who are straight up telling us what they're doing. They're running fake child care centers in order to steal taxpayer dollars and enrich themselves and fund their own campaigns. And they do this openly, like when Tim Walz was running for vice president, a reminder that Democrats wanted to make this man the second most powerful person on earth. He just straight up said it. He just said, you know what, we need to make sure that more Somalis can get involved in the child care business, right?
Now, as far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both the supply and the demand side. You can't expect the most important people in our lives to take either our children or our parents to get paid the least amount of money. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business.
Let's go. And it is a business for Tim Walz, obviously. They've uncovered billions of dollars in fraud in Minneapolis, and now they're uncovering some of the receipts as to how that money gets laundered into campaigns like Tim Walz's campaign. Tim Walz bragged about child care business in Minnesota during VP debate before $9 billion scandal came to light. So it's pretty obvious. And more importantly, the fraud has been out in the open for a long time, not only in the vice president's debate, but if you just called the numbers in the child care advertisements here on the outsides of the buildings, you would find that they direct to Tim Walz's office.
Guys, this is absolutely mind-blowing. So I was watching the most recent video by Nick Shirley exposing these daycare centers. Now, they're going daycare to daycare, and the next one that they go to is called Sweet Angel Childcare. This is where they show up to, and this is the business right here: Sweet Angel Childcare in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, listen to where this phone number goes to when you call this childcare center.
Thank you for contacting the office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our office is located at 130 State Capitol at 75 Reverend.
It's Tim Walz's office. It's Tim Walz's office. So the fraud has been completely obvious, and it's in our faces now, and the Trump administration has to do something about it. And I spent my entire day yesterday calling Trump administration officials asking, what the hell are you doing about this? Like, the entire country is demanding action and demanding it now. And we're proud to say that there's been some action. Is it sufficient to satisfy the appetite for a bunch of door kickers to go in and to raid these places? I don't know. Let's watch. Homeland Security investigation. ICE are on the ground in Minneapolis right now conducting massive investigation on childcare and other rampant fraud. More coming. says Christy Gnome. Christy Gnome posting this video of agents talking to a Somali business owner in Minneapolis.
Say like other businesses that you partner with that you use for a service of any kind, maybe transportation or anything like that?
No, we provide usually parents, I mean, they come like this, drop the kids, they go to work, and then we take care of them.
Awesome. And who actually oversees the receipt of those documents?
I am glad that this is happening. Again, like I wanted raids, I wanted tactical gear, I wanted what they did on January 6th to us, frankly. I wanted what they did to Mar-a-Lago to happen to all of these businesses. But I am glad that at the very least, there are investigations going on and they're asking questions. These videos are starting to circulate all around social media. Here's another one from DHS is on the ground in Minneapolis going door to door on suspected fraud sites. The American people deserve answers on how their taxpayer money is being used and arrests when abuse is found. Under the leadership of Secretary Gnome, DHS is delivering results. You can see now they're here inside of a convenience store. But you need to start raiding the fake daycares, obviously kick in those doors and show that there are no children there and that these are empty buildings. I think ultimately that's what people want, but this is good. Let me explain why. It's good because you need pressure. You need people to know that there is going to be a consequence when you commit massive fraud. Right now, there's no consequences for these people. And so the fraud continues and it'll continue forever. If you don't investigate it, expose it, start asking questions, that makes every single business. Nobody wants an IRS audit, right? Nobody wants an IRS audit. So if you're going to start asking these questions and you're going to start like demanding receipts, then you're going to make people extremely nervous. This is something that always happens when the government starts asking questions. And so this just the action of having a federal agent show up at your business and start like being like, do you have other businesses here? Have you ever heard of these people? Have you ever done business with this individual? Or do you have receipts for this trucking company? Have you ever seen children here? These are critical questions that begin to like break the fraud. ICE, HSI agents are on the ground in Minneapolis in a massive investigation. Swarm Minneapolis with agents. We heard that this was happening yesterday on the ground. Massive investigation, denaturalization, and deportation is what needs to happen next. This is something that was promised by Kash Patel yesterday. We heard from Kash Patel, Secretary Kelly Loeffler, who's with the Small Business Association, who's in charge of a lot of these businesses, the Department of Labor also as well, and hopefully something from RFK Jr., because he's in charge of Medicaid and Medicare, and that would be the Medicaid and Medicare fraud be a huge part of this, right? And so that would be what a whole of government looks like here. Now, what Kash Patel said is the FBI is on the ground and is ready to do raids themselves, and that there is a wholesale and full-scale investigation that's ongoing. What we heard from the Small Business Administration is that there is a full stop to all funding of small businesses in Minnesota. There's going to be no grants there. And what we heard from the Department of Labor is that they are doing a full-scale investigation themselves into unemployment fraud that's happening at scale in the state of Minnesota. And so, well, at the very least, people are looking. At the very least, you're going to start getting like a whole of government. Obviously, Stephen Miller, the vice president, and a lot of people are saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Show me action. I mean, is it good enough for you? Is it good enough for me? No, I would love, again, to see dark of night federal raids, again, just like they did to us on January 6th. But we'll take it. Even Fox News here is calling and finding that none of these businesses are actually real. They don't have actual numbers. They're all fake. And so at the very least, we can get started, right? At the very least, get started in the exposing of this and get the ball rolling and make this an example. Make this an example. This is the example, ladies and gentlemen. And nobody's taken the time to explain to me why there needs to be 100,000 Somalis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Maybe we can go there next. Anyway, here's Fox News trying to call the businesses.
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center. We've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Why?
Can I speak to a manager? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son, little Joey here. Is there paperwork, or can I check out the daycare?
You got $2.66 million this year in funding and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
Wow. You're right.
So
that
good.
is the old good journalism. By the way, Fox Digital reached out to that learning center to try and, get a statement from them. And apparently the number doesn't even work. So we did not get a response there.
Alrighty. And, that's pretty much what's in the news today, folks, and probably for tomorrow as well. This is a big deal. And there have been over 90 charges filed, some of them dating back to 2022. So this was going on even when Biden was in office, and the Department of Justice was actually looking at it then. So there you have it. We went over that a little bit last night. Okay, this let me click on the Rumble link here, and this video does come from Benny Johnson. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and see what we got from Devory Darkins. Chicago mayor humiliated with latest PR stunt as federal court hands Trump major legal win. Okay, I've got this up about the 38-minute mark. So let's see what he has to say here.
Again, what other city have you seen where it's normal to hear and witness and really goes unchecked, where black people are essentially killing each other, okay? Particularly children, all right? 12-year-olds carrying around guns every day, all right? That's normal in Chicago. Now, that doesn't mean every black person in Chicago fits into that, by the way, because they don't. But, for someone who keeps saying that the president is a white supremacist, it's funny. I actually would argue that he's the white supremacist based on his policies. He's not doing anything to further the black. Listen, if I was the mayor and my message was about black lives and black community, hell, I would be passing policies to make sure black people get married, to make sure black people get incentivized to get married, to make sure that they're having kids, to make sure that we are producing, homes in a nice part of town just for the. I mean, if I'm just going with his logic, you'd think if they're that serious, because we know that's what they've been doing with illegal aliens, right? I mean, they've used everything in the book to further the advancement of illegal aliens and what they need. They haven't done that for the black community whatsoever. At best, it's always, we're going to do a study for reparations that never come, by the way, which I don't even support either. And I don't support making policies based on somebody's skin color. I'm just taking you guys through his own logic, how it doesn't add up. Same thing with Mayor Wu out of Boston, Massachusetts. She's a, man, I'm telling you, the three worst of them is Mayor Wu, Brandon Johnson, and Karen Bass. These people are a cancer to our country, and they're not actually helping people. Now, you think they're helping people. What they're doing is they're helping people's guilt, their insecurities, their emotions. They're not actually helping people economically. They're not helping keeping their neighborhoods safe. We know that. The numbers show it, and the people who live there have said it. Okay. So I think this brings us to the overall question. I'm going to get to your guys' comments here. Is there anything Democrats can truly do to stop ICE? If you really think about it, just from a legal point of view. Chad Wolf was on Newsmax. This was actually on Sunday. Here's what he said.
So we know that there are governors in blue states that are already reacting by cutting off ICE's access, which I think is illegal and deplorable. Can they legally stop federal agents from doing their jobs, Chad?
No, they can't. Look, enforcement of immigration law is a federal duty, and so different states can have different rules there for the locals, and we see this in sanctuary jurisdictions across the country. But when ICE comes in to remove dangerous illegal aliens from their community, governors can stomp up and down, they can jump up and down, but they can't stop federal law enforcement from doing their job.
You know, I've seen the videos. I mean, while you've got some of these liberal governors who are protesting this and, you know, really throwing a big fit, it looks like the people on the ground are actually in for it. Talk to me about that disconnect, Chad.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is what ICE is doing. It's protecting the American people and the people that live in these communities, whether it's, you know, the inner city of Chicago, New York, or anywhere else. They want a safe community as well. They want to be able to walk down the street and do certain things. But when you have criminals there in your community, criminal illegal aliens in this case, you want those folks off the street. And when they just turn them around and turn them loose out of jail back into the community, the people don't want that. The politicians may want it because it suits their politics, but the people want to be safe in their community.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Is for Democrats, this is more of a political ploy, not something out of the kindness of their heart. They really don't care about these people. They look at them as voters, as a source of political gain and money. That's essentially what it is. And people fall for it every day because, you know, if you ever want to get someone hooked, you got to tug on their heartstrings. All right. That's essentially what has happened in our country for generations on end. It's what happened with the Black community. You know, everybody, not everybody, but a good part of the country wants to feel so guilty for Black people. I don't understand why, but it's because they're programmed to. Okay. And all it really is a business to earn more money and earn and advance in their politics. Okay. That's really what it is. And that's why you hear things like abolish ICE on a snowplow in the city of Chicago, because it's politics for the mayor. It's not actually doing something that will help the people of Chicago, because it's not just Black people that obviously live there. There's a lot of people who live there. There's a lot of good people who live in the city of Chicago. And I guarantee you they don't even support what this mayor is doing, because his approval rating shows that. Now, I'm not naive either. We live in a country where both sides have to exist, essentially. You know, you have city, you have country, right? You have left, you have right. I get it, right? That's going to happen. But I will say, how much more will people in these cities put up with? You know, it's so interesting how they walk down the street and they say they're protesting the president. But when you stop them and you ask them, what exactly are you protesting? They can't tell you. What they do is they'll repeat some language, some buzzwords, but then when you actually dig deeper and say, well, what do you mean by that? Give me an example. They can't give it to you. See, I can give you example after example why these policies don't work, right? I mean, if you take DEI as an example, what happens? You end up discriminating against white people. It's exactly what Mayor Wu did. Okay. It's exactly what the city of Chicago right now is being sued for. Okay. They have been discriminating against local small businesses on the Riverwalk down there because, you know, you can have your restaurant, you could set up a retail space on the river. And essentially what's been happening is they will deny the permits of businesses owned by white people and only approve permits owned by Black people. That is discrimination. That is reverse racism. So, you know, that's a prime example. I can go into more depth about it, right? I'm just proving to you guys, but they can't do the same thing. And that's where they lose every single time. All right, let's see what you guys have to say about all this.
All right, folks, great information there. He's got some more that he's going to report on. The link to this is in the description box below. Let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link here and show you
again.
This video does come from Devory Darkins. I am following his channel, giving him a thumbs up. If you want to click on that link, you can give him a tip. That's what this little green button is for here. Tip, it says. So if you want to give him a tip, like don't play in traffic or whatever, there you have it. Okay, let's jump back here and see what's next with Dr. Steve Turley. Now, he hasn't posted anything for a few days, but he did post something, so let's go ahead and take a listen to it. You won't believe what just happened to the Somali fraud scandal. Okay, I'm sure he's going to be talking about the same thing everybody else has been talking about, but we just want to hear his take on it, because it's normally got good stuff. Here we go.
Tell you who's not. And that's the most corrupt governor in the nation, Tim Walz, and the single most corrupt congresswoman Ilhan Omar, both from the now ravaged state of Minnesota. Independent journalist Nick Shirley did something revolutionary. He walked up to the front doors of government-funded daycare centers in Minneapolis and asked the most basic questions imaginable. And what he found was absolutely stunning.
Here at Future Leaders Early Learning Center, this building received over $3 million. Hello, how are you? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son, little Joey here. Is there paperwork, or can I check out the daycare? No? Why can't I check out the daycare? Okay, but if I can get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Business card?
No, I would like your business card, actually.
You talk to your manager.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No.
No children.
Yes.
Why are there no children?
We have two of Mexico.
Would my son, little Joey, have friends to play with here? No. No friends for little Joey.
Yes. Sorry.
Dang it. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Now, that was just one of 50 facilities that Nick visited morning, afternoon, and night. 0 children. Ever. And yet, each one of these centers were pulling in millions of taxpayer dollars. The Quality Learning Center provides the perfect case study. Not only did they spell learning wrong, state inspectors documented 95 violations over multiple visits. No child files, no staff files, no training, no equipment, essentially no functioning daycare operation whatsoever. But the government checks kept flowing. Over $8 million to a facility that inspectors knew was fraudulent. And it gets worse. Sweet Angel Childcare received over $1 million in taxpayer funding. When someone called their business number, it rang directly into Governor Tim Walz's office. Not a similar number, not a clerical error, the actual governor's office. Make that make sense. Federal prosecutors have now charged 98 individuals, with 85 of Somali descent. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed these numbers publicly, but Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson warns this represents really just the tip of the iceberg. Minnesota identified 4 high-risk welfare programs that have cost taxpayers $18 billion since 2018. Thompson believes more than half of that was stolen. Stephen Miller, Homeland Security Advisor, went further. He called this the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history, and he stated he believes the state government has been fully complicit in this fraud. And note that accusation's coming directly from inside the national security apparatus of the White House. The schemes were sophisticated and multi-layered. The Feeding Our Future nonprofit, promoted by Representative Ilhan Omar, billed the government for millions of dollars of meals that were never served. Surveillance footage from 2018 shows parents checking children into centers only to leave minutes later with their kids, while operators handed out envelopes of kickback payments. Fake autism diagnoses, phantom food programs, healthcare hoaxes, and the fraud metastasized. Michigan House Republicans uncovered a $5 billion scheme involving 4,277 phantom government jobs created purely to launder funds. Ohio attorney Mehek Cook confirmed massive home health fraud where families billed $250,000 annually for care never provided, adding parents and in-laws to maximize the take. Pennsylvania shows similar patterns. Now, what's so key here is that this wasn't a failure of government oversight. Far from it. It was a deliberate choice to look away. Whistleblowers raised alarms years ago. I mean, in 2018, $100 million in questionable spending was flagged. Nobody was fired. Nobody prosecuted. Then COVID hit, and Representative Omar introduced what's called the Meals Act, which waived critical rules, regulations, and safeguards for school meal distributions. Omar herself admitted the programs did not have guardrails. Federal prosecutors say these removed protections made the massive fraud scheme virtually inevitable. When prior Attorney General Lori Swanson investigated and prosecuted daycare fraud back in 2017 and 2018, the cases did start to move forward. But the moment Tim Walz became governor and Keith Ellison became Attorney General, all investigations stopped. The fraud exploded. Minnesota Department of Human Services employees have publicly accused Walz of ignoring fraud reports and retaliating against those who reported it. Some state employees are frankly fearful for their lives, referencing the assassination of state legislator Melissa Hortman by a Walz appointee days after she cast the deciding vote to end free health care for illegal migrants, widely believed to be the gateway into welfare and Medicaid fraud. According to a Center for Immigration Studies report, get this, 81%, you heard that right, 81% of Somali households in Minnesota are on some form of welfare, compared to just 21% of Native households in the state. 81%. Nearly 30% of Somalis receive cash welfare versus 6% of Minnesota natives. 52% receive food stamps. 74% use Medicaid. I mean, what the flying heck is this? These aren't temporary numbers either. The same study found that Somalis that have been in the United States for 10 years show only marginally lower welfare consumption rates. 40% of adult Somali immigrants live below the poverty line as compared to 6.9% of natives. 58% of working-age Somalis do not speak English. 39% have no high school diploma. But if you think all of that is maddening, wait until you see the legacy media's response to Nick Shirley's investigative reporting, doing their job for them. This tells you everything you need to know about who really is the media today. Gang.
Okay, he's going into a commercial here, so let's go ahead and get past that.
And all of this is that $1 off. Get it now before cold and flu season kicks into high gear. That's twc.health/Turley, code Turley. Now, the good news in all of this is that Governor Tim Walz is taking full responsibility for this rampant fraud. He's apologizing to Minnesota taxpayers, and he is vowing that every single person behind this billion-dollar money laundering operation will be brought to justice. Just kidding.
Yeah, does that include himself? But anyway, just kidding.
So, this is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. That's never happened once in my whole damn life.
So there you have it. According to the borderline illiterate governor of Minnesota, old Happy Hands, what all of this is really about is white supremacy. That's what this is all. It's ultimately about racism and the weaponization of the federal government against peaceful, law-abiding migrant communities. And if you thought Happy Hands Walz was the only left-wing lunatic running with that insane spin, check this one out.
The question is, why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. And this is not unique to politics. Americans know that. But of course, the other factor here is that because It looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way. Those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right. And so that's also something to keep an eye on, and that's inappropriate. Absolutely.
That was the New York Times, a pathetic excuse for an editor. That's Mara Gay. She has a history of making blatantly false and incredulously stupid statements. And as you can see, she has pushed her absurdity to new heights. She suggested the investigation itself represents weaponization of government. And she questioned whether Americans can even trust these federal agencies investigating this fraud, especially when they're scapegoating Somalis. Let me translate that for you. Exposing multi-billion-dollar theft is somehow worse than the theft itself. Liberals turn reality on its head. It's the grand inversion. But what Mara Gay and the New York Times and MSNBC don't want you to know is that what we're seeing in Minnesota really does represent the purest distillation of blue state governance. Explosive budget growth producing declining effectiveness and quality of life. So what we're realizing more and more is that high tax progressive states don't pave roads or provide better services. They slop cash to friends and allies. They view governance as costumed performance for cameras, while money disappears into empty buildings with daycare signs just as long as they vote for more Democrats. Convicted fraudsters from Feeding Our Future have direct ties to Governor Walz and Representative Omar, Secretary of State Steve Simon, Senator Tina Smith. This is one massive Democrat money laundering operation hiding behind social programs. And when they get caught, they don't prosecute the criminals. They call their investigators racist. Now, the problem is that that's just simply not working anymore. Everyone can see that race here is being weaponized and utilized as a form of cover-up. I mean, it's so ironic that New York Times editor, in accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing government, what was she doing? She was herself guilty of weaponizing race. But there's no hiding this. Nick Shirley's videos hit over 100 million views. Did you see that? 100 million. As Elon Musk likes to say repeatedly, we are the media now. Because of the internet, because of cell phones, because of independent journalists, we now have access to the same information that anyone at the New York Times and MSNBC has. And so we are now in a position to fact check them. And they're getting caught time and time again. $18 billion and counting. Your money stolen systematically, protected politically, and defended by calling you racist for noticing. It's too late. This fraud ship is sinking. And now the only question left is how many Democrats are going down with it. Do you want to ask me?
Okay. Yeah, he has a good perspective on things, I'll tell you. It gives you some, nitty-gritties like those percentages. Okay, 94, 98, I guess it is, have had charges filed against them, and 85 of those 98. That's right around 87% of the ones charged are Somali descent. So, no. But it's nothing to do, and seriously, it's not. There's nothing to do with the Somalis. It's the act of the fraud, the breaking of the law. It doesn't matter, really, what your nationality is, or what your color is, or whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. If I haven't lost my place someplace. All right. Oh, yeah, here we go. Now, I was updating my playlist for tonight for my daily news wrap up, and I lost track of what page I was on. Okay, but here we are. We're going to go with Wendy Bell. Not far right, just right. Okay, well, let's see what that's all about.
Really exposed simply by showing up in Minnesota, knocking on doors, hooking up with a guy who'd been doing his research, who was pissed off to the last level and was like, look, I am so tired of watching people get rich off of our money. Help me expose it. And boom, in one day. But you know what Nick also did? He exposed that you don't need to turn on the TV to get your news. You don't need to go and see some news hack with makeup on and expensive equipment. You don't need to pay for all of the bells and whistles of equipment. You need a functioning brain. You need a quality heart. And you need your God-given gift of curiosity. And with a cell phone, a little microphone, you can go out and do darn near anything. Your phone is your own little mini computer, for heaven's sakes. And what has Nick Shirley galvanized across this nation? An entire core of citizen journalists who are like, I could do more than my hack ABC affiliate. Did you guys see the story? CBS National News last night. Some guy standing out in some cold spot, ostensibly Minneapolis, and he's standing there saying, Nick Shirley exposed all of this fraud. Right-wing YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, Nick Shirley. Well, we've followed up on all of the places he stopped by and found no kids at all of the daycares. We found they're all perfectly licensed. All of their paperwork seems to be in good order. Yeah, but did you find any freaking kids? CBS. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. One 23-year-old man who just wanted to know the truth has not just exposed the deep state. He's not just pulled the plug to begin to unravel the grift that you and I couldn't even possibly imagine. He has now exposed the suck media for being so ridiculously irrelevant. We don't need you losers anymore. See you later. Suck it. That's my message. Overnight, big news, big news. Here you go. Oh my gosh, the Trump administration actually taking action here. You ready? I'll read it to you from NPR because you know they love Donald Trump. Trump administration says it is freezing child care funds to Minnesota. That's step number one, and I appreciate that. Right? As I say, if you have a water main burst outside of your house and your house is getting flooded, you don't start bailing out your basement with buckets until you've isolated the break, shut off the water, and at least gotten things settled. Yes? Wow. This is what the Trump administration is doing. President Trump's administration announcing Tuesday it is freezing child care funds to Minnesota and demanding an audit of fraud schemes involving government programs. This is where we hear two dudes who look like they're straight out of The Office, right? These two guys look like they could be anybody. They happen to be pretty smart young men with the administration. About to hear from Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services, Jim O'Neill, who also, fun fact, happens to be the acting director of the CDC. So maybe after they unravel all of the welfare fraud that's going on, he can officially pull the COVID jab, because we should all probably have an honest conversation about what that nightmare did to us. Here's Jim O'Neill with Assistant Secretary Alex Adams saying it's game over. No mas dinero for you. Listen.
Hello, I'm HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. I'm here with Assistant Secretary Alex Adams. Alex oversees the Administration for Children and Families. Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs. We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
My office, ACF, provides Minnesota $185 million in child care funds each year. That money should be helping 19,000 American children, including toddlers and infants. Any dollar stolen by fraudsters is stolen from those children. Yesterday, I spoke directly with the director of the Minnesota Child Care Services Office. She could not tell me with confidence whether those allegations of fraud are isolated or whether there's fraud stretching statewide.
Today, we have taken 3 direct actions against the blatant fraud that seems to be rampant in Minnesota. First, I have activated our Defend the Spend system for all ACF childcare payments across America. Starting today, we require a justification, receipt, or photo evidence before we make a payment. Second, I've just signed and sent a demand letter to Governor Walz. I required a full 360 review of these centers. This includes attendance records, licenses, complaints, investigations, and inspections.
And third, we've launched a dedicated fraud reporting hotline and email address at childcare.gov. Whether you're a parent, a provider, a member of the public, we want to hear from you. Let me be crystal clear. ACF expects every state to uphold the highest standards of oversight, monitoring, and accountability for federal dollars. Minnesota is no exception.
We're committed to holding bad actors accountable. Regardless of rank or office, anyone who's involved in perpetrating this fraud against the American people should expect to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
That is step number 1. We have turned off the money spigot and we are finding the fraud, O'Neill said. Of course, this announcement coming a day after U.S. Homeland Security officials were in Minneapolis conducting a fraud investigation, going to unidentified businesses and questioning workers. You guys, there have been years of investigations, right? Including a $300 million pandemic food fraud scheme, which you know all about. But you know, it's so curious how few of your mainstream media outlets have actually paid attention. Not PBS, not CNN, not ABC, not MSNBC, not 60 Minutes, not the New York Times or the Washington Post, not the Associated Press. An independent journalist who goes on X and exposes millions of dollars of fraud with a hoodie and a camera. Everybody should wake the hell up. What you are going to hear on today's program, of course, is the left trying its best to play the final card it has. It doesn't realize that it doesn't work anymore because at about the same time, well, let's just say in the same city, Minneapolis, after George Floyd, we were told that we were racist. We were told that we were privileged. We were told that we owed other people stuff. And we have been defrauded. We have been lied to. Elections have been stolen. We've been poisoned. You cannot make it up. Done. It is done. Now, I want to ask you this. How many of you out there actually believe that the people who've come here from Somalia, and there have been, let's say, 100,000 here, at least in Minneapolis right now, they've multiplied, of course, these people have had children, and the family and the unit gets bigger and bigger. Do you mean to tell me that a third world country, absolutely devastated by civil war, by starvation, by natural disaster, by drought, by famine, by you name it, fill in the blank, they've gone through it, where the average person's IQ is in the 60s, which I'll tell you ain't good, that they came here to the United States and somehow managed to pull together some mastermind scheme to defraud the American people out of billions of dollars. Do you believe that they did that on their own? Because I don't. Do you believe that maybe there's some kind of a deal going on? I don't know. Maybe with the United States, maybe with Israel, maybe with Somalia. And maybe that deal might have something to do with where the Palestinians are going to go once the area is redeveloped, the Gaza Strip. Do you think maybe there could be some kind of a weird payment plan going on? And that the people here in the United States who happen to be Somalians aren't actually the fraud masterminds. They just happen to be the conduits through which the money passes. We're not going to send you tarmacs full of cash. We've been there, done that. It's a little obvious. We're going to get it to you in a different way. On suitcases, millions of dollars at a time. Suitcases with Somalian escorts. And then when we flag that money as it's flown out of Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport, it's going to be able to pass, as will the suitcases full of passports. Curious. You need to tell me that the Somalian people masterminded this as they fled civil war, right? Plagued by inbreeding, to come here to America to mastermind this scheme. Please. It is way bigger than the Somalians. It's deep state through and through. That's why Nick Shirley's getting death threats. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's talk about this. It's not just Tim Walz' problem. It's not just him who's corrupt. The media are as well. Rob Finnerty of Newsmax, one of the greatest 2-minute takedowns I've ever seen. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, let me go ahead and move this forward. And sorry, my microphone wasn't muted when I was telling Quentin to get to sleep. He likes to come up here with me when I do my videos. Of course, the kids were all wound up from the trip back from Arkansas. So he's up here, and normally he's asleep. You know, I normally start my video like at 8 o'clock. Normally he's asleep by 8:15. Here it is, what? It's 11:26, and he's like wide a freaking awake. But at any rate, he needs to get some rest. He's 7 years old. Here we go.
Seriously.
Enjoy.
It is totally magical that a group of people from a third world country who've asked for ordinances to change in their communities so they can perform animal sacrifices in their backyard, that these people with an average IQ of 67 who inbreed commonly, think about that, resettled here in the United States. Oh, what a beautiful story, right? And then they just happen to see this ability to defraud everybody. And they masterminded this thing where they just got gobs and gobs of money and sent it back to Somalia, to the homeland. Oh, what a story to fund terror. I love that. It's a great American success story, isn't it? Right. Right. Well, Rob Finnerty is as dubious about all of this as we here on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. My Newsmax colleague, who I think is fantastic, came out last night with, it's literally 2 minutes. It'll probably be the best, most honest 2 minutes you'll get on national television in a long time. Here you go.
Nick Shirley just exposed how utterly corrupt the national media are, and certainly the local media in Minnesota. How pathetic can you be, Star Tribune? Protect the criminals, avoid the truth, and create this fake narrative that Somalian immigrants are somehow part of the fundamental bedrock of this country, part of the fundamental fabric of what makes us all American. But all of that is a total lie. And we don't say that to be mean or cruel. We say it because it's the truth, and others won't say it. If you're looking for a way to describe Somalian immigrants living in this country right now, try just got here. That would be appropriate because most of them literally just got here. Again, we don't say that to be mean. We say it because it's the truth. And so is this.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country
This is a
founded
unique
by
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
It should be okay to say that. That's the vice president right there with Margaret Brennan of the Legacy Media. It should be okay to say that out loud, that you don't have anything against Somalian immigrants per se. Maybe you do. But why are we required to be so supportive of them? Why do we owe them anything? The answer, and Margaret knows this too, is that the American people don't owe the people of Somalia anything. And the American people don't owe the Somalians who are here now anything. But the media would rather run with this narrative that Somalian refugees were on board the Mayflower, or that Somalian refugees rode with Paul Revere during his famous midnight ride. ICE is coming. Or they fought in the Civil War. Or they fought in World War I and fought in World War II. Somalian immigrants landed on the moon, people. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and that guy right there. Remember him? Remember that guy? He brought the gun, too. If it sounds ridiculous, guess what? It is meant to sound ridiculous because this is all ridiculous. But again, the media would rather tell the fairy tale instead of the truth. That most Somalian immigrants just got here and have nothing to do with the story of America. Again, we aren't saying that to be mean. We're saying it because it is the honest truth.
It is all so damn ridiculous. Everything they put you through. I mean, choose a topic. Transgender nonsense. In what world does it make sense to anybody out there who's telling the truth that a child who's 8, who still doesn't know how to tie their own shoes, feels like they've been born in the wrong body? I don't know. Something's odd. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have given your kid a cell phone. How about that? But instead, let's go lop off body parts, stitch on others, take a bunch of drugs, put on lipstick and call it a day. And the left tells you, oh, that's gender-affirming care. No, I call that child abuse. I don't care what you think about that. Because if you think I'm wrong, you're the problem. If you don't see what they've been doing, if COVID wasn't the biggest freaking wake-up, if you didn't get a whoosh frying pan to your face when they locked you in your house, when the Gestapo came and knocked on the local restaurant and forced them to shut down, but the porn shops were open, Walmart was A-okay. And if you needed to get your liquor, come on in. We're not closing. If that didn't freaking wake you up, what is it gonna take? A bunch of people who don't look like you stealing from you? Is that enough? The ridiculous lies about it? You can't talk about Somalian fraud. That's racist. I'm here to tell you, there's no such thing anymore. Woke is over. Nick Shirley put a freaking stake in the middle of the heart of it. And if you're one of those people who's still dragging around your sanctimonious do-goodery of idiocy, we've lost patience with you. And alas, you will not be saved. For the rest of us, it's now time to clean up this mess. It's time to expose the deep state, pull the plug on the swamp, and get rid of these jags forever. I'm done. How about you? When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video, there we go, this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. I'm going to start this video up in my daily news wrap up, and I'm going to do like record time. I've already, like I say, updated my daily news wrap-up playlist, so I'm going to jump back in here just as quick as possible, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get that going for you. But in the meantime, I want to go ahead and share some information from 1775 Coffee.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash.
All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler.
$170 worth of coffee and gear. Yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is.
Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does.
Okay, here we are. Back with our lineup here. These videos that I've shared with you folks are videos that come directly from the producers. I've got the links to their videos here in the description box, as well as the link to their channel. All this information, I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do get the satisfaction of putting it together in a nice, neat little package for you so that you don't have to surf all over the internet to find this stuff out and present it to you. And these 4 videos that I've shared with you are videos that I've posted over here on Mertech.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos, the information that you're not going to find on the mainstream media. Now, I'd like to share all of this with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do that. That's why I've put together my daily news wrap-up. And as I said, I'm going to start off here with right where I left off with Wendy Bell. American Center for Law and Justice, lawmakers come forward and call for Walsh's resignation. He needs a lot more than that. Also, We the People News, situation update for today. More Benny Johnson, McWater's effect, more Dr. Steve Turley, more Devory Darkins, Black Conservative Perspective. I've got 15 videos in here, and it's going to play throughout the night into the new year. And by the way, let me wish you a happy new year. It's only about 24 minutes away, according to my clock, so happy new year. So the next time I see you will be next year. I do want to thank you so much for your time. Let me mention this before we go away. Go ahead and take a short break today, because I'm going to be back here in about 10 minutes to get this going. Grab a donut, a quick cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and meet me back here in about 10 minutes, and we'll get this going. But I do want to thank you for spending your time with me this evening. Again, I apologize for starting up late, but I hope to get to see you here in just a few moments. Thank you again for your time, and may God bless.